don't know, bro. I'm sorry. I don't know what you're saying. I'll catch you later, bro. What's up, guys? This is your boy Wes,
Joe,
and you know what it is. This is back again with episode 2 of the Real Bros podcast. But today it's a little different. We talking about audio and why it's important and why you need to get that shit down and why we need to make sure that everything is smooth before we put it out.
I mean, overall, when a videographer thinks of a video, they're always thinking of what the quality is going to look like through the camera. And a lot of the time, you know, they neglect audio. And as you can see from the the intro video, audio is just as important.
Super important.
It's just as important, if not more important,
Right.
than the actual video itself. Because if you have a high quality video but bad audio, it's gonna immediately turn the audience off.
Like I've personally like seen videos to where it looks great. I've seen YouTube videos where it looks great, but then audio has static in it, or it's way too low, it's way too over modulated. It's just not good audio, and you want to make sure that that's crisp. Excuse me, just like your video. Like if you're gonna do video, you have to be somewhat of an audio person too. Like you can't BS, you can't try to say, oh, I want the cheap fix, because I mean you didn't get a cheap camera lens if you really shooting for real. So why would you get some cheap audio? Like it doesn't equate. I mean, if you're gonna have high quality video, you gotta have high quality audio. Look, especially when it comes to like newscasts. You look at newscasts and you know it might be a smaller type of newscast, but you look at a story, you know, and they're doing something on a shipyard, you're gonna hear metal clanking, you're gonna hear drills and hammers and welding machines and all types of things when you see the TV. So it brings you into the story, and then they start talking about the actual story itself. So it makes more sense when you have good audio. And even you see movies, you don't realize it, but you hear the footsteps of the girl. Like let's say for example in Smile, you know, she's running down the hall, or she's nervous, and you hear like the floor creak, or you hear the door open, the footsteps,
echoing of the footsteps, the everything brings, because if you just had her running down the hall with none of that, it takes you out.
It does.
Like ultimately that's what it does. It takes you out, and that's what you're not focused on. Like you don't feel there, and that's especially if you're making a horror movie, that's what makes it scary, is that you feel like you're actually there and, you know, immersed into that scene.
And I know audio, this includes audio, but let's say you're doing a horror film or you're doing a newscast, whatever you're doing, make sure you have a good music bed, because the music will carry the story. If you don't have a good music bed, it's not gonna work.
No,
it's not gonna work at all. Because if you have a commercial or something that you shoot, and let's say it has no music bed, you're gonna be like, what the hell am I watching?
Right.
Okay, yeah, it has. Okay, let's say it's a ad for Toys R Us. If you have heavy metal under a Toys R Us ad, they're gonna be like, what the hell are you trying to give my kid? R.I.P. Toys R Us. If you have a good music bed, it'll carry your story along. And if you don't, then I mean, but it doesn't really matter. Like it just depends on the video too. You know, you might be doing a recap vid of certain things, and you might just have just somebody on camera and a music bed, and that's it. You're not gonna have any like Foley art or anything like that. Or you might just have, you know, like some of the memes you hear, like the shoes and stuff squeaking to make it extra funny. The noise and the sound makes the video. It makes the video funny. It makes the video interesting.
Just so ultimately focus on sound design, focus on audio, because that's what's gonna sell your video. So you get your audio, you get your sound design, you throw it all together, You're like, this is about to be a fire video. You look at it and nothing's lining up. Audio sounds horrible.
Yeah.
What can you do? What are some possibilities? What can you do to clean it up?
There's something called a parametric EQ. A parametric EQ basically is, in a way, somewhat of an S curve, like how you do lighting. With the parametric EQ, you can put effects on there. It'll change the band that you see. You actually see a band moving.
Right.
So you can take out your lows if you have too much bass. You can up your mids if you want a little bit more treble, and if you want a little bit of the high parts of the voice, if you want to make them sound like Mickey Mouse, turn that those highs up. Turn that high pass filter on and turn those highs up. But you have a whole lot of creativity with the sound if you use a parametric EQ, and then we're gonna talk about
another effect that you can use to clean up your audio is the single band compressor. And what's cool is that you can go into the drop down menu and you can just play with it and choose a wide range of effects that you can throw on there. But what I like to use personally is the vocal thickener. Mm-hmm. It brings out the bass in the voice a little bit, and it just makes the audio sound better, especially for podcasts and stuff like this. It just makes it sound better. Just makes it make the voice sound thick, rich, and it can really boost the quality of your audio.
And then there's also something called noise reduction. So noise reduction is basically used if you have that little staticky sound in your headset or in your speaker when you start to edit the audio. The noise reduction basically just kind of compresses that sound. It's basically a compressor of some type of form or fashion. So it takes that overmodulated and you basically can cut the noise out in a certain wavelength. So We're getting a little bit specific. We're getting a little bit more advanced. So noise runs on certain frequencies. So if you chop off a certain frequency with the noise reduction, you can take out that little sizzle that you hear in your ear. Right. And you just play around with it. You can test it. There's no specific range of frequency that you can cut the noise out with. It's just you just listen to it and figure out that little sweet spot. So you can use noise reduction in any digital audio workstation and any editing software that you use for your videos as well.
So we're gonna break down the effects real quick. So this is just our regular audio coming straight from the mic. This is with the parametric equalizer added to it with the vocal enhancement. This is with the single band compressor with the vocal thickener and the other effects added to it. And it sounds a little bit more crisp. And then to touch it, finally top it off, we got the noise reduction. And there you go. You went from mic audio to a little bit better quality audio.
Yep. I would also say the type of microphone. Make sure that you have a certain type of microphone. Like right now, I'm using a condenser microphone because I'm not outside. I'm more in like a studio setting, so it allows me to get a little bit cleaner audio. Same with that. I mean, that's more of a boom mic, but it still has a certain pattern. Now we can get into patterns and all that, but I would say just do your research on patterns because that's just a whole bunch of sound stuff that we just have to get into right now. We don't have a whole lot of time to give that to you. We will literally have to sit you down in a lecture hall to talk to you about that, but that's not happening. But basically figure out the pattern of your microphone. Figure out, like, for example, and I'll get into some of it, is like a cardioid pattern, or you have an omnidirectional pattern. They all can be used for different things. Like more omnidirectional, you can use it for nat sound or something like that to pick up more sound, from your surroundings. Cardioid, for example, that's a cardioid microphone. It's more directional. If you get if you get something like a shotgun mic that you put on top of your camera, it's literally what they call a shotgun mic. When you shoot a shotgun, it goes straight to you. It's more linear. Right. But again, not trying to get too much into it, but it just makes sense to look at the microphone that you're trying to get to improve that audio, so you don't have to use the multi-band compressor or single band compressor as much. You can actually just get it straight out of the camera, straight out of the microphone, and you can use that type of stuff. So I would say do your research.
Yeah. So really you need to figure out what video you're shooting. For a podcast like this, you can pick up a good cardioid microphone for cheap. It'll sound good, and then after you go and you throw effects on and you clean it up. Your audio equipment doesn't have to be expensive to get good audio. That's one thing that kind of ties in with our first video too. Is don't focus too much on the price. If you have $100 in your pocket, you can pick up the Yeti Nano, and that is more than enough. That's higher quality than a lot of, like some of these really expensive ones. You could get away with the Yeti Nano. Right. I mean, I have a Yeti Nano, and if I compare the two, you probably wouldn't even be able to tell the difference. Go ahead and pick up something cheap, learn how to clean it up. And then when you get to that stage that you need to upgrade your audio equipment, do it. So some really good ones that you could pick up for cheap: the Yeti Nano. The Blue Snowball is a little bit outdated, but you can still get
good audio.
You can still get good audio.
Let's see. You can get some cheaper Shure. Shure has a couple of mics that are not as expensive. Of course but then you start getting into like the higher price range. You got the Sennheisers, you have the Presonus mics, you have Yamaha, you have a whole bunch of things that actually bring really good audio, but you're going to be paying an arm and a leg for it.
Right.
You don't want to pay an arm and a leg if you're just starting out, but if you have the means to do it and get a better microphone and start off on a higher stepping stone than somebody else, I mean, I would say do it. But if you're just starting out, try to make sure that you get the best for your budget. Do not try to break the bank on a $600 or a $300 microphone.
Right. Yeah.
It's not gonna work. It doesn't make sense to do that, but if you have the means to do that, then do it. Why not?
So we talked about some cardio microphones. We talked about some of these microphones that you can use for more of like a podcast setting. So what can you pick up for, like a lavalier setting? Talk
to them. Tell them.
One thing that we just picked up.
Mic AirPods.
Essentially that's what it is. It's mic AirPods. So we picked up the DJI wireless lavalier mics that they have, and for the price point, they're solid. I mean,
how much are they?
They're gonna be a little bit more on the expensive side, but not too much. They're racking around about 300. But what comes with it, you get the transmitter, which sits on top of your camera. It's got a touch screen, and you can adjust the audio levels and everything from there.
Hot shoe mount as well.
Yep, hot shoe mount as well. And then it comes with two smaller than I thought, honestly, lavalier microphones.
Just for size comparison, I got pretty large hands. This is
an iPhone comparison to the size of them. So they are pretty small, surprisingly. And what's great about these is how versatile they are. So you can go ahead and you can attach a actual lavalier to them through the point right up here and capture audio through a lavalier pretty much. Or what's really cool about these is that you could take it and you can clamp it to your shirt and you can use this as the audio. And wow, these sound great. For just being this little small device, these sound great.
They also come with internal recording, and if you want to, like a lot of directors do, no matter the shoot, you can take this and you can pop it off. You can pop this magnet off, and if you need to hide it, you can hide it in a shirt, and you can flip it backwards like this, put it in the shirt, and then put the magnet back on. And it's a pretty strong magnet. It took me a little while to get this thing off. It's hard to take off.
Yeah, for like when I first got it, I didn't know if it came off or not. Like I know I saw it on the videos that I watched before I purchased it, but I didn't know if it came off or not because of how strong the magnet is. Like you don't have to worry about it falling off at all. Like look.
Yeah.
That took some pressure to get. But we'll do a mic test with these two, and see how it sounds.
So
with that, look at that, just sitting right there on my shirt through the magnet, moving around. It's not coming off. I was shimmying a little bit for the camera.
And mine is on the inside. Mine is hiding where you just can't see it. All you can kind of see is the magnet perker up right here. But that's about it. But it has really good audio.
So let's go ahead and test that audio. So that's what these little mics sound like. They're a great pickup for anybody stepping into lives, because especially lavaliers without a recorder by itself can get expensive.
Yeah. And this is pretty much everything in one.
Yeah.
They're great for weddings. The connectivity has a wide range, so you're not gonna have any issues with that.
And it's small, it's compact, sounds good.
So that's gonna wrap it up for the Real Bros podcast on audio. Look, tune in next week for another episode. We're gonna bring more bangers to you, more love, more life, and more everything. We love y'all. Peace.
Peace.